Now that our colony is starting to get a bit larger and accumulate some material wealth, we're going to shift our focus briefly to defending our area. Now, once a colony starts to get a bunch more wealth and population associated with it, it's going to start to attract barbarian raiders and other sorts of unpleasantness that's going to be trying to kill you and take your stuff. In order to prevent that, one of the best things to do as a starting point for setting up a defensive strategy is to build a whole bunch of walls around an area that you're going to set out to defend. And that way, if you wall off an area and you limit access in and out to maybe one or two places, it's easier to funnel your foes into a specific spot where you can deploy your defensive personnel and engage them more readily. So in order to build walls, we're going to have to engage in freeform construction. And before we can do that, we're going to have to manufacture some construction materials. So I click the manufacturing tool over here. From item category, I'm going to select building supplies, and you'll see here that there are tons of different building supplies, and these are all different kinds of structure nodes that you can build. Structures that you build freeform consist of different types of nodes. There's doors, floors, roofs, stairs, and walls, and we'll get into the details of how all of those work individually later on when we build some more advanced structures. But for the time being, we're just going to worry about walls. And walls are what you think they are. They're just impassable spaces. I tend to like the look of light stone walls. You can pick dark stone ones if you prefer, but stone walls are what we're going to build. There are pluses and minuses to using different sorts of building materials, but because we have a lot of workable stone on hand, and in my case quartz-bearing rock, that's what I'm going to go ahead and use. So I'm going to issue one manufacturing order to build 25 of these, and then I'll issue a second identical manufacturing order to build another 25 light stone walls. And one thing that's important to note is that for each light stone wall item that's built here, you'll actually get 10 structure nodes that you can deploy. So the 25 and 25 will give us 50 total, but since we're getting 10 per, that's going to give us 500 spaces of light stone wall we can construct. And that should be adequate for now. I'll go ahead and elevate the priority on these two orders to make sure that workers get started on them right away. And we will proceed. You'll note here that we had a baby born in the last video. It was just dropped off here in the residence for one of our nuclear families. Nuclear families will usually take care of children themselves if they've got a room available, but we'll want to set up a child care center pretty soon. That's another area designation type, and we'll get into that next time. So we just made it to hour 0 of day 3. The first season has come and gone. Spring is over in year 0. Summer has arrived. We can click on the event, we can view details, get information about what's going on here, and this is good. One thing that's important to note is that after your first season, all sorts of world events can start happening, and these can range from good things like shipwrecks that might have some rare and otherwise unattainable items in them, to bad things like rabid creature attacks and barbarian raids and other things like that. For the sake of this tutorial, we don't want to have to be fighting for our lives. We want to just learn how to play the game, so I'll teach you guys how to enter a secret code. If you go to the options menu at the top of the screen here and select the enter secret codes option, this lets you put in what are more or less cheat codes, and we're just going to type in no events, all lowercase, a space between no and events, and then we're going to press enter code, and this will prevent events from happening. Every time that you load the game, you'll want to go to options, open up the secret codes dialog, and enter no events to follow along with the tutorials. If you don't, you may find violence coming to you, and that can disrupt learning here. So we'll go ahead and enter no events. That's all we needed to do, and we can let the game clock resume. If we take a look here, we can see that we've got 2 workers who have assumed responsibility for these orders, and they'll get to work at the construction material manufacturing station, just like for any other kind of manufacturing. While that's happening, I'm going to continue to issue crop growing orders. Summer is the last season that we're going to have for growing crops. We won't be able to grow anymore in autumn, so I'm going to keep our workers busy here. Producing plenty of what we need. We can see now that our colonists are starting to take advantage of all the infrastructure available. You see them producing media. We can take a look at our data net under the information menu and see that now there's a bunch of writing available. And if we go ahead and look under colony requests, most of our media requests have been squared away. We do have a new family now. Monsund has requested a new room, so we'll go ahead and do the same thing we did with our previous families. We'll go to Z level 59, viewing the interior spaces for our buildings. We'll use the room designation tool, this one that looks like a door. Click on our building that doesn't have a owner yet. Individual room, assign it to Monsund, and that is in business. That should resolve that request. We will pretty soon have to build some more structures, though, but I think we're in all right shape for now. If we go ahead and open up our colony metrics dialog, we can make sure everything's proceeding as we expect. And there's our population increase from 8 up to 9. So we're moving right along. Take a look at the orders again and see how far along these are. So far we've got 9 and 14. So the construction's going pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and save the world really quick. And now that that's squared away, we'll issue our construction orders to start work on building the wall. Usually when I'm building something pretty big, I'll go ahead and click on the Advanced View Options button, the one that looks like an eye, and I'll zoom out to 50% instead of 100%. This just gives us a bigger picture of what we're looking at, and this is going to be useful for building a wall around everything. Now, in order to issue our Freeform construction orders for the wall building, go ahead and click on the Issue Construction Order tool, and then you'll click on this one to specify Freeform construction. And now you'll see we've got fiberglass stairs, the light stone walls that we've been building, and power lines as our available node types. I'm going to go ahead and select light stone wall, and then a little bit south of all of our structures here, I'm going to leave us just a bit of room, and I will issue an order from here. I'll skip over the plant nodes all the way over to here. And we'll just start building our wall. And I'm going to clear out some of those plants that are in the way. I'll make sure to elevate the priority on our construction orders, just to make sure that our guys work on what we want them to be working on. They can plant crops at a later point in time. You'll see that our workers will start carrying structure nodes down, and they'll begin building this wall. I'm also going to issue plant harvest nodes to knock out any plants that are in the way, just to get rid of them before proceeding to build walls there. But I think I'm going to wall off the north and south sides entirely, and then I'll have entrances on the east and west sides of the colony. I'll go ahead and I'll issue another wall building order. But again, it's just a matter of clicking and dragging. That's about a good place to stop there. And I'll go up here to just north of these two trees. I think I'm going to knock out this gray tower tree too. We could build the wall to run underneath its branches, but I kind of prefer to just get rid of it. So I'll issue a logging order to knock that out. I'll go ahead and elevate the priority of the tree felled order. Make sure that gets taken care of. I'm actually going to rescind some of the crop planting orders that I was just issuing, because I'm going to prioritize that lower than the building for now. I'm going to issue a plant harvest order down there as well. And then I'm going to highlight all of my construction complete orders, set them to a priority of 2.25, which is going to be lower than the tree felled priority that I just set, because I want that gray tower knocked down. If I view surface, I can see somebody's already taken care of it. But now that I've elevated the construction order priorities, workers will start to take care of business on that front. I'm going to issue another order over here to get this wall constructed. I want to check too and see how many data net terminals we have. We're going to need more pretty soon because there aren't quite enough to keep all of our colonists busy right now, I don't think. If I go over here to available items, I'm going to take a look at furniture that's on hand. We've only got one spare data net terminal, so I'm just going to keep in mind that once I get these walls constructed, that's something I'm going to want to pay attention to. Normally, sometimes if I get to this point where I'm starting to consider wall construction, I'll build a landing zone and I'll recruit my first wave of migrants before trying this, just to get more workers on hand and make the whole thing go a little quicker. But for the sake of the tutorial, I want to hold off on building the landing site and everything until after we've got the basics of freeform construction down. Here. You can see that we're clearing out some of these plant nodes that I had specified that I wanted to get into. Usually if you leave a 3 or 4 tile opening, that's sufficient for most purposes. Now, one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to want to designate a childcare area, like I said before. As babies start growing up into children, they'll need childcare areas to go where they can play with toys, receive educational assignments, and do other things like that. But for now, I just want to finish off building the first level of this wall. I'll go ahead and issue wall construction orders for those spaces that were blocked off by plants. And then I'll build the other side of this north-south wall down to about there. I'll elevate the priority on the remaining construction orders. Setting it to something nice and high. We'll zoom out to 50%, and once our workers finish up whatever they're currently doing, they will finish off the end of this. There they go. I made a slight error with having these walls be exactly the same, but it's alright. So long as there's some choke point that you've forced your enemies into, they will function just as well. Knock out that last plant node. And just fill in any spaces that I might have missed if you are as incompetent at clicking around as I am. But now we've got a nice walled-off area that's going to be a little bit easier to defend than if it were all just open space and aggressors could come from any side. So I'll go ahead and save there, and then in the next video we'll go ahead and set up our childcare area for our new young elements of the population.